Soldiers win battles, but industry wins wars. Away from the grueling war of attrition on the front line, how important is the Russian defence industrial base to the battle for Ukraine? Overnight, there are reports that Ukraine has attacked yet another major Russian oil refinery, this time at Kursk. It's all part of a Ukrainian strategy to try and stop Russia selling oil and funding the war. But there's also reports separately that Russia has been using North Korean missiles to attack Zaporizhzhia overnight. Increasingly, it's looking like a long-range drone and missile war. Now, in any war, vast amounts of munitions are used up, and although stockpiles are held by every nation, they only really last for day one of the war. Then you've got to invest in your defence industrial base to spin up. A good example of that is Ukraine is using over 10 million drones every year now. It's using hundreds of millions of bullets and also millions of artillery shells. Now, bullets and artillery shells are relatively simple, so the challenge is more a financial one, paying industry to actually deliver them in bulk. The challenge for missiles is they're a lot more complicated and therefore take a lot more effort to replace. Now, the principal threats for Ukraine are actually ballistic missiles. If we look at the operating in the Earth's atmosphere, threats like drones are relatively slow, relatively easy to shoot down. But if you look at cruise missiles, they also operate in the Earth's atmosphere, 400 or 500 miles an hour. Layered air defense can take them out, fighter jets in extremis. But ballistic missiles, by their nature, leave the Earth's atmosphere. They actually go into space where there's no drag. They can accelerate to hypersonic speeds, several times the speed of sound. And the only time to intercept them really is when they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, when they're going incredibly fast, incredibly difficult to shoot down. That's where Patriot missiles are the best in the business at doing that. The trouble is shortfalls in those due to the Iran war has led President Zelensky to appeal for help, because unless he gets more air defense missiles from the West, Ukraine will be incredibly vulnerable. So is Russia suffering from the same challenges with its defense industrial base? Well, Russia started the war with vast stockpiles of artillery shells, but even they needed help from Iran. Iran provided Shahed drones and also ballistic missiles, and likewise North Korean ballistic missiles. But at the same time, President Putin was investing in his defense industrial base. It's now 7.5% of GDP and about a third of public spending going into its defense. That means that over the last month, about 60 ballistic missiles are produced by Russian defense industry. Now, that roughly equates to the number of Patriot missiles that America can produce, but you need 2 Patriots to shoot down 1 ballistic missile, and Ukraine is not the only customer. As a result, President Putin is producing missiles, ballistic missiles, at double the rate that America can shoot them down. Now, President Putin and Russia has also been incredibly responsive and opportunistic. When the Iran war started back in late February, President Putin realized that a lot of American weapons and crucially Patriot missiles would be diverted into the Middle East. As a result, that would leave Ukraine vulnerable, and Putin has ramped up significantly the amount of hypersonic and ballistic missile attacks, trebling the number of them over the course of the last 3 months. In addition, it's also modified the sort of investments it's made. You'll remember the Kinzhal missile, hypersonic missile. President Putin claimed it was unstoppable. Actually, it proved to be stoppable, but it also proved not to be very accurate. Likewise, the Kh-32 cruise missile has also not been that accurate. Russia has dropped its investment in those to ramp up the spending on more effective and more accurate ballistic missiles. Meanwhile, of course, on the front line, the grueling war of attrition had continued, but many expected this summer would be a massive summer offensive. That has not materialised. The front line has remained largely stationary, leading some commentators to suggest that Putin might be ready for some form of negotiated settlement. But of course, now there's a shortfall in air defence missiles. It means Ukraine is vulnerable. That's an opportunity that Putin is capitalising upon. Don't expect we're going to see any negotiation anytime soon. So the unintended consequences of the Iran war has led to a shortfall in Patriot missiles and a real problem for Ukraine. But longer term, it's left an emboldened Putin and potentially a prolonged war in Ukraine.